The Pacific Crest Trail, or PCT, officially designated the Pacific Crest National Scenic Trail, is over 2,600 miles long, 2,653 miles to be exact, and is aligned with the highest portion of the Cascade and Sierra Nevada mountain ranges. The trail is generally 100 to 150 miles east of the Pacific Ocean and starts just south of Campo, California, near the U.S.-Mexico border, and terminates on the Canadian-U.S. border on the edge of Manning Park in British Columbia. Famous sections of the trail include the John Muir Trail, Sonora Pass, Sky Lakes Wilderness, Donner Pass, and Badger Flat to the Little Willow Lake. The PCT passes through 7 national parks, including Mount Rainier National Park, Yosemite National Park, and Crater Lake National Park.
So, Joe, have you ever stepped foot on the PCT?
I have not.
I can't remember if we walked on it a little bit when we were in Mount Rainier. I feel like we might have. And this last summer, I was actually on the John Muir Trail in Yosemite.
So you were on it in that part, or was that not part of it?
I don't think the part we were on was part of the Pacific Crest Trail.
Okay.
So,
well, the PCT was conceived by Clinton Churchill Clark in 1932. It was designated a National Scenic Trail in 1968 and was officially completed in 1993. The PCT is also part of the 6,875-mile Great Western Loop. Now, it's estimated that around 700 to 800 people start the PCT every year, but only 60% usually finish.
People might think, like, only 800 people hike the trail. Those are people that are only specifically planning to through hike it. So there's probably tens of thousands of people that hike sections of it.
Sure.
But
and through hiking for the listeners is any time that someone intends to start at the trailhead and end at the terminus in one trip.
Yeah.
Now there's people that will do sectional hikes of it where over the course of their lifetime they'll hike segments of it and then complete it in segments.
Yeah.
And that does count. It doesn't count as a through hike, but it counts as finishing the PCT. But yeah, the big of the Triple Crown is doing it in one shot. So you have to be the type of person that's got 5 months off of your life to just do that. 57 hikers have walked the trail more than once. So we're getting down to very, very low numbers of people who have done this and then done it multiple times. On average, hikers who plan to through hike the PCT can expect to spend anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000, and this is according to REI. So that's in meals, gear,
shipping,
things that have to be replaced. Yeah, anything that has to be replaced along the route as you're going.
You'll find a lot of people will have things shipped to certain spots along the route so that you can pick it up when you hit that spot.
Yeah, so a lot of work is sometimes placed on family members to make sure that they get packages and things like that at the right time that they're making it to and from places.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, though, it's not like a ton of people have done this, but there's only been 15 deaths on the PCT since 1983. I would have guessed there would be more based on like the treacherousness of the desert sections and things like that.
Yeah, there's the first 700 miles, and I'll get into this a little later, are you're in desert, and then sections through the Sierra Nevadas are pretty treacherous, depending on the time of year you go. So it was shocking that only 15 people have died since 1983.
Yeah. Another cool fact, the PCT passes the 3 deepest lakes in the nation. Lake Tahoe, which we were just at for Mike's bachelor party, which was amazing.
It was.
Crater Lake, which is the deepest lake in the United States, and Lake Chelan. And in total, hikers will pass more than 1,000 lakes the whole way. The PCT climbs nearly 60 major mountain passes and descends into 19 major canyons. 10% of the PCT is on private land, and a free long-distance permit is required to hike the PCT. So you do have to show the permit if you're being a through hiker on the PCT. Mm-hmm. So here's a fun fact. Fewer people have through hiked the PCT than have climbed Mount Everest.
Which shocked me.
It's shocking until you think about it a little bit because the time commitment's the same, isn't it? It's like 6 months to do Everest.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the reason is. I think probably
maybe it's like less work to do Everest.
I think Mount Everest just has that kind of adventurous feel to it. To say you've climbed Mount Everest is probably...
Yeah, if I had to choose between two, as far as like, okay, I know I'm going to make it, I would probably say I'd rather do Everest.
I mean,
If I had to only pick one.
I want to do both. Mount Everest
I do want to do both.
Vastly more expensive.
Oh yeah, isn't that? It's like $60,000 to $70,000.
Yeah, and I think it may take you
And the success rate's probably really low too.
Yeah, and it may take you 5 months to actually do the climbing piece, but I think to train to be physically ready for Mount Everest probably takes years. So,
yeah, no thanks for that.
No.
So I'll talk a little bit about the different climates. We touched on it in the intro a little bit. The climate ranges from desert hot heat to high alpine hiking. So that can even require crampons and ice axes. So people typically time when they're going to start based on the duration of the hike to hit different times of the year to make sure that they're not in treacherous winter or the worst type of heat. So from April to September, temps range from the lows of 32 to highs of 86.
You'll notice when we get into the 3 cases we're going to discuss, just think about the times they were trying to hike the PCT, and I really think we'll get into it more, but I really think those, when they went hiking, factors into why they're missing.
Okay. Mike did the research on this one, so I'm coming in blind to this, but just remember for the listeners now, the best times to hike is snow-free summer months, which is in April or May. So the elevation ranges in the PCT goes up and down. It tops out at 13,153 feet at Forester Pass in the Sierra Nevadas. So it's not too high, just under the 14,000 mark. It's well above tree line in some spots, but it's not like you're getting super gnarly altitudes.
You will be spending a lot of time in the Sierra Nevada stretch, though, up at pretty high elevation. I know altitude sickness is one of the concerns when doing a thru hike, so just keep that in mind.
Animals, marmots, squirrels, chipmunks, rats, mice. There are 8 different species of venomous snakes. So you have the western diamondback, sidewinder, speckled rattlesnake, red diamond rattlesnake, southern Pacific rattlesnake, Great Basin rattlesnake, and the Mojave rattlesnake. There are black bear and mountain lions and cows. Watch out for those cows.
Yeah, one of the things you don't think about when you're hiking out west is venomous snakes. When we were hiking Yosemite just this summer, we hiked up to Mount El Capitan, and on that short little mile hike, we saw at least 3 or 4 rattlesnakes on the trail. And
yeah, those can really, and you don't see them. They're really good at being camouflaged. Remember when we were at Zion after all the rain?
Yeah,
all the snakes were coming out on the path, and we almost stepped on a rattlesnake.
Yeah, and
I've never seen someone jump that high. It was, I think Ben was in our group, and I think he got like a 6-foot vertical and all instinctual,
superhuman jump. But yeah, snakes when you're out there hiking is a concern, especially if you're off trail. If you're on the trails, it's easier to spot them. But if you're stomping around in high brush, up to your knees or hips, you got to be really careful, because you get bit by one of these, you're gonna need to get to a hospital to get the anti-venom.
Yeah, quickly.
Yeah.
So then we'll get to kind of more insects and other types of bugs. There's mosquitoes, which can be more annoying. Scorpions, they won't kill you, but they're extremely painful. I was actually stung by a scorpion in Florida, and it's way worse than it was way worse than a bee sting. But nothing really happened. It's just really, really, really painful. Mm-hmm. If you're allergic to them, obviously that's different.
Yeah.
You can get ticks, which sometimes carry Lyme disease or Rocky Mountain spotted fever. And then there's bees. So I would say on most normal hikes, that's not a huge deal. But if you're in deep backcountry and you're doing something for 5 months, something like a bad bee sting reaction, or if you get an infection from some sort of sting, can really impact the trip and throw off all your times, where you might have to be due 15 to 20 miles a day to stay on schedule. And if you get set back a few days, that could be really, really, really bad.
Well, yeah, and for a scorpion sting, there really isn't anything you can do about it other than you're either going to have to stay in place for, up to 72 hours to let the symptoms go down, or somehow get yourself to a hospital where you can get anti-venom, but you can only get that in a hospital. So
sure.
And most people probably will get stung, and it hurts for a bit and then it'll go away. But some do get pretty sick, but you're not going to probably die from it.
Plants, there are some poison oaks and poodle dog brush, things that can, again, cause reactions, inflammation, things like that can hamper the route. The terrain, as we said, it's desert, high alpine mountains, rainforest, so it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Which means that exposure is a high risk, especially when you're in the desert sun or on the high alpines exposed to thunderstorms, snow, low temperatures, and there is a lack of shelter because you're on the back country, so you're going to be in tents and things like that. So, and you'll be low on weight, so it's not like you're going to have your normal body fat to insulate you from some of these things. You're going to be losing a ton of weight and things like that. So it's very difficult, and it's why very few